Hello everyone, this is In-Game Arts with another unboxing of the offline product game review. This is Biomutant for the PlayStation 5. To jump right into it, this physical copy here just claims it's just the base vanilla version of the game, so the on-disc version is 1.0.0. Now sadly there was an update available. This update size was 1.6 gigabytes big and will take you to version 1.0.3 since the time making this video. Not like always, I play all my games completely offline with an unregistered account, and I can't claim my experience was 100% flawless, but I did complete the game and I did finish it. And as well, I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. Now, as I said, this is my first time playing Biomutant. I never played the first released version of the game on PlayStation 4, so I can't really say how much this is based on the original vanilla version of the game and what has been altered or updated, but I'm fairly confident this is a more updated physical version of the game compared to the PlayStation 4 first release version. Why I say that is that there are some PS5 benefit features like DualSense functions, the speaker, and so forth, and as well as that generally these PS5 versions as they come later, they often do come with the updates on the disc. So though the game does have a 1.6 gigabyte update, I'm pretty confident that this is a more updated version of the game on disc compared to the PS4 version. I can't say that with a guarantee because I don't own the PS4 version, but the overall experience was pretty much smooth, so I'm fairly confident this is a more updated version of the game. Now, I do want to point out, this PS5 version of Biomutant does not come with any of the DLC content on the discs. This is just the base version of the game. So don't expect any DLC or anything like that. Now, I do want to point out, I've never played the PS4, the Switch, or any of the Xbox versions or anything like that. So my experience is strictly limited to this PS5 version of the game. But before we go into details about the experience, and I don't want this video to be too long, I do need to give you a heads up. If you're like me, I like to turn off pretty much all the functionalities on a PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. I don't have the haptic feedback, I don't have the DualSense figure, I don't have the trigger haptic feedback stuff, and I don't also turn off the speaker off my PS5 controller. But sadly, on Biomutant, if you have that stuff turned off, it's still turned on in the game. So if you start the game without going into the settings, you won't hear any gun firing, you won't hear any sword swinging, you won't hear it like you're walking around, because that's all supposed to be coming out of the speaker of the controller. If you're like me and you have it turned off, you're not going to hear any of that audio, because while you got it turned off on your console wise, in the game, in the settings, it's turned on. So since it's off, you won't play in any audio. So it may feel like a bug or some kind of design flaw. No, you just make sure you go to the settings, go into controllers, and then go all the way down, and then you will see that there is a function about speaker turned on. Turn it off, and that way you can play all the audio out of your speakers instead of the speaker on the controller. Just a heads up on that. I can see it being very confusing and be very wondering with something like a buggy experience going on. No, it's just some reason it's always on the Biomutant when you first turn it on, even if you have it turned off on your console wise. Just make sure you go to settings, go to controls, and turn off the speaker if you're like me who like to have all the audio to come out of the speakers or the headphones or anything. Now, as I said, this is my first time experience of the game, so I can't really talk too much of what the experience is like on the PS4. I did play the game mostly on performance mode. There are several settings, but as I said, I played mostly in performance mode, and the game performance mode is 2K at 60 frames per second. Quality mode is 30 frames per second at 4K, and quality mode unlocked is 4K with unlocked frame rate. I tried messing around with this to see the variations between them and see the big difference. Obviously, quality is just 30 frames per second with 4K. Quality unlock is a very variable frame rate. For the most part, it ran at 60 frames per second, which is pretty smooth, but definitely when big action scenes happen, the frame rate did bounce around quite significantly. But in performance mode, it's in 2K at 60 frames per second. Sadly, this is not locked 60. It still jumps around in frame rate and experience. I can't really say how well the quality is between them both because, again, it can be vary in terms of what's going on, the action and the environment and stuff like that. For the most part, I played it at performance mode at 60 frames per second. It ran 60 frames for the most part, but there is some stuttering as well as some dipping in frame rate at certain moments in the game. As well as I did talk about the stuttering, every time the game saves, it does an autosave, the game does a significant stutter. So just keep that in mind. It does autosave quite frequently, so you're going to have some good amount of stutters here and there from the autosave. It is a pretty strong stutter, so that's a little disappointing, but overall, it's not the worst experience. And that's pretty much the overall problems with the game. It's mostly just frame rate and stuff like that. Nothing really impacting gameplay or anything like that, or completely progression stopping. Now, I did have one time, this weird moment, where I opened up a crate and my character's animation completely froze and I started drifting and I went through a wall and I locked onto a ladder and started climbing the ladder, and then I had full control of my character again. That was the only time I lost complete control of my character. It was just the weirdest thing. It's like like my character felt like he had to climb that ladder again, so he just locked up his body, slowly drifted through the wall and climbed the ladder. I don't know, it was really weird. I was confused as all hell with it. As well as that, do keep in mind that there is a narrator in the game. He talks a lot. Now, I don't mind him for the most part when he's talking about certain topics, but when you're just running around the open world, he brings up some of the most oddest topic points, or talks about you as a person or anything like that. It's the weirdest thing. I highly recommend you go into the settings, and there's a slider that allows you to change the frequency of the narrator speaking. I recommend just clicking that thing all the way down to 0, because even at 0, he still talks a lot. So just keep that in mind. You might want to change that setting too, because boy oh boy, that narrator wants to talk, and he's going to tell you what he's thinking and feeling and about you as a person. But moving on from that, there was some odd like clipping and cutscenes and stuff like that. Like most time it was like when they were showing me the world eaters, like they would show me the world eater in a cutscene, and it's just the world eater like floating there with some like static background. It's really weird. It's like they're trying to show him on the root tree of life, but if they showed it, you wouldn't be able to see the world eater, so they cut it out. But now it just looks like the world eater's just floating there. That's a really weird cutscene. It's just really weird how they did that. As well as that there was an exercising thing where I had to like lift weights. Every time I would do a bench press with this weight lift, the character would hold the weight lifts really awkwardly. It looks like I wasn't even really holding it. It's like concave and in a weird angle, and it's just really funny. It did affect gameplay. None of this is affecting gameplay. It's just some wonkiness going on in the overall experience of the game. As well as that some odd pace in the game. The beginning of the game might seem pretty good, then later on in the game, the overall flow of the game starts to get interrupted when they start introducing elements and dialogue and cutscene moments. The overall pace in the game is really weird. I can see a lot of people getting put off because the pacing is just all over the place. But once you get past the flashback of your old town and they start introducing the crafting and the overall upgrading and stuff like that, that's when the game starts opening up and it's a lot more free-floating. But at the beginning of the game, it could be a little off-putting in that area. That's pretty much it. I can only think of that throughout my experience. Everything else I'm going to really talk about is going to be my gameplay experience of the game. There was nothing that really prevented progression. There was nothing that froze up, no crashes, no lockups, no oddities, no soft locks. None of that happened throughout the game. It's just some significant frame rate drops, some odd cutscene moments here and there, but for the most part, nothing really jeopardized the overall experience of the game. Now, this game, I didn't know anything about it. I don't really know the development cycle of it or anything like that, so please keep that in mind. But overall, I actually didn't really hate the game. I was a little surprised. I did roll my eyes when I realized this is a huge open world game, but overall, I didn't think it was that bad. It definitely tried many things in this game. They definitely looked at... I would love to have been in the boardroom in the development area of this game, because it felt like the developers was just throwing everything at the wall. What was popular, what was big at that time. There's morale system, there's crafting system, there's melee combat, there's gun shooting, there's magic, there's did I say morale system? There's like dialogue tree system, there's like faction system going on. It's just, there's a lot going on in this game. But sadly, it's all just puddle water surface level deep. It's not really that deep, and you can't really like sink your teeth into it because it's all just so like thin layered. But it's all put together decently that it's actually not bad. And it just feels like the developers were just like, at first they had a vision, and it's just like all of a sudden they just kept throwing more and more and more into the game, scope creep if you will. But then eventually they just said, screw it, just let the players just have fun. We're just going to give them all the stuff. If they break the game's mechanics and stuff like that, let them go ham with it. And that's basically what I did. I basically broke the game. I put all my levels into luck. I didn't put my levels in anything else, and I had like 100% critical chance effect, as well as I had 100% loot chance. I was doing double damage with all my equipment, and there was just certain elements in the game that just felt like they had no purpose in the game, like the magic system. I didn't really touch the magics at all. I'd rather use that moment to upgrade my resistance instead of using those crystals to unlock new magic. Guns are really powerful. I saw no reason to do melee combat because guns are just insanely powerful. I had an auto rifle gun that shot rockets every second round, and I just obliterated every enemy. There's just some weird, let's just like go crazy with it. There's no like balancing in the game, and it's more like you as a player what kind of difficulty you're gonna want within the game. But sadly, in gameplay wise, it's smooth and fluid, but other times it's floaty, but other times it's very stiff. It's really weird. It's really weird game. But yeah, I didn't hate it. It felt like these developers really just wanted to go have some fun, try to create something different and new, but they also knew they had to make a game that sells, but they also wanted to try everything. So it's a collage of ideas and collage of concepts and just direction. It's very fascinating, but also graphically it is fairly pretty, and the storyline, nothing too amazing, but it kept my intrigue in certain moments and had certain twists to it that I thought was like I was not expecting. But I do want to point out that this game is heavily environmentalist. This game is all about taking care of the environment and about humanity's irresponsibility of make sure to waste, plastics, junk and everything like that, nuclear power and all this other stuff. It's a very environmentalist and messaged game. So if you're someone who doesn't like that stuff, yeah, bear with it because it's just nothing but that. So there were some topics I didn't agree with in terms of environmentalist stuff, like the nuclear power part, but there were other parts that was just like, okay, I can see where you're going with it, and I can agree with you because I am a bit of an environmentalist myself, but it's really on the nose in terms of like preaching to you. As well as the next part is that the game has this weird like I don't know, Kung Fu Panda idea where like you're like trying to spread messages and stuff like that, spiritual enlightenment and like the morale system. Are you really good? Are you a good person? How are you doing this morality system? Is evil really evil? Is good really good? It was really weird. But again, surface level. It doesn't go very deep. And you're constantly just like, what are you talking about? Why are you talking about my path and who I am as a person and everything? It felt like the developers were heavily inspired by Kung Fu Panda. Because I think there was even a few lines that were just almost copy and pasted from Kung Fu Panda. I kid you not. Because I was just like, man, oh man, these developers, they had a vision and they went with it. And then they just went scope creep and it went crazy. But it wasn't bad. Like, it's weird. Like, I love the loot. And I'm not really a big person on loot, but I love the idea of the crafting system when you got loots of pieces and you use that pieces to create a weapon, and these pieces are not permanent. You can just take that equipment off and put a different one on there. And you just use some resources like plastics and woods and rubbers to do the upgrade. I really like the upgrading system in the game, or at least the weapon crafting system. Leveling up, like I said, I put all my levels into luck, and you get these like doggy treats, and you can use those to upgrade special like passive upgrades, like unlocking new combat moves and stuff. A lot of it was useless because I was like, well, I'm just going to use the gun because the guns is the most powerful thing in the game. It's just like it's one of those games you can't recommend it to anybody because you know that they're going to probably play it and look at you like, why did you recommend this game? But also, I'm glad I played it. I'm glad I experienced this game completely fresh. I had no idea what was I going to experience from this game. It was both creepy at certain moments and cute and really weird and odd. Like, some of the enemies you face and some of the monsters are insanely cute looking and look like fluffy, this hug bears, if you will, but other ones look like these diabolical, wretched, scary little things that probably freak me out if the dead at night if I came across it. But it is a bizarre game, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very unique experience. I can see myself playing the game again, and it does have New Game Plus, which was really nice. A lot of games nowadays don't even have that on release. Now, granted, I'm not sure if that came with an update from the PlayStation 4 version, but regardless, this PS5 version has New Game Plus on the disc. It was just a different experience. I do not know if I can really recommend the game, but if you come across it and it's within your budget, I would have to say, give it a whirl. It's weird. Now, like I said, there is some weird clunkiness to the game. There's weird, just like inputs and overall flow of the game, just certain elements. But it's just, I don't know. For the life of me, I couldn't hate it, but I couldn't love it because there was clearly too much the developers threw on themselves. I feel like if they just focused a little bit more on the game and what they wanted to do than throwing everything they wanted it to be, I think it could have probably been decent, but probably would have lost its uniqueness because with all this hodgepodge of ideas and elements and mechanics, it gives this very unique experience that you don't see in a lot of games. It's not, I know I've said it multiple times, it's not a great game, but it's not a bad game. It's one of those games it's just, you have to experience it. It's just different. And for me, I'm glad this physical copy from the PS5 version worked from beginning and end. I didn't 100% complete the game. I did beat it, but I didn't do all the side quests and all that stuff. I didn't find all the lootable areas. And there was a few times, I'm not sure if it's like a soft lock or something like that in terms of this, but there's a few areas that you would get a check mark and it would show you all the stuff you need to loot. But there's a few times it was like I scouted the entire area. It was like a small cave and it says there's one more super loot around. I went all around that cave multiple times, like 15 to 20 times, and I could not find this one more super loot. I don't know if there's a like bug or issue that prevented this item from spawning. I don't know. For the most part, though, I wasn't really playing it for that. I was playing it just to experience the game, and it was an experience. So, for me, as a physical collecting side of it, I can recommend it because it's fully functional, it's fully beatable. There are some little hiccups, like I said, the frame rates and stuff like that, as well as the stuttering and then that weird speaker controller thing you need to turn off, as well as the certain little oddities. Nothing's too difficult. I played the game on normal. I kind of wish I played it on hard or maybe extreme, but I was a little worried that everything's just going to be bullet sponges, so I played the game on normal. Probably should have played on a little bit higher difficulty, especially since I broke the game and mechanically by just basically having an unstoppable weapon. It did like 400 damage per bullet, and it was an automatic, and it just critical damage every time. I broke the game, which is fine. Sometimes that can be fun in a game where you can just not have to worry about being perfect. You can just have some go ham with it. It is a different experience. Can I recommend it as a game? I don't know. Check it out if you can maybe if you can get a physical copy and get it at a decent price, I think it's well worth it. It's a fully functional working copy, and it's something different on your shelf, that's for sure. So like always, thank you all so much for watching. I will try to leave links down in the description if you're interested in a copy. I don't regret playing it, but I don't know if I can really recommend it, because if I feel like I recommend it, you're going to be disappointed. But I feel like if you go into this game with knowing nothing about it, and you're just like, what is this? What is this game? I think you're going to have an interesting experience from it. So like always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next unboxing video. Bye-bye!